Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use. Welcome to Just Minding My Business. I hope your day was full of joy and happiness. And today we have coming to the mic Miss Christina M. Johnson, who is an author, publishing consultant, author coach, that is, certified coach trainer, and lover of life. Christina received graduate reading instruction from Johns Hopkins University and has decades of research training from organizations like the Veterans Administration Hospital, University of Maryland, and the Rabin Medical Center in Israel. Mrs. Johnson is also an award-winning educator and orator. Oh, wow, Miss Christina, you have been a busy bee.
Yes, very busy, very busy.
We are excited to have you here and learn how all of this started.
Okay, my personal journey, entrepreneurship, where do you want me to begin?
Wherever you feel like you want to begin.
Well, I guess to be honest, it pretty much all started in darkness because I didn't even know who I was, and I was just going through life from my surroundings and what people told me I should be doing. You should go to school, get good grades, look for a good job. So basically, I was just in that mode for so many years, decades of my life. And I began to, I guess you could say, awaken to some of the things that I believe I was called to do, my actual divine purpose. And all along, I've been kind of in the modality of what my divine calling and purpose, is, but I didn't actually know it. I wasn't really aware of it. And I've actually been called to be a teacher and educator. I've been called to also be a wife and a mom, and that's what I've kind of been doing sort of all along. But it all started just kind of not knowing what I was doing exactly, but then all along, kind of one thing led to another, and then I ended up teaching in Baltimore City Public Schools. I taught in Baltimore County Public Schools, and I've also taught in private schools, the Calvert School in Baltimore, Maryland. I wrote curriculum for them, and I was doing a lot of different things for the school system, but I didn't know that there was another plan for me to have like my own school, of which now I homeschool my husbands and my children. So that's what I've been doing lately, in addition to Testimony Publishers, LLC, my publishing company.
Wow. Okay. That is very interesting. It's funny how, I remember growing up, I said I wanted to be a teacher, and I thought of it as in the school, teaching kids, right. But turns out it wasn't that way. It was more or less teaching computer skills and things like that, which is, what I'm really, really good at. So how, you kind of don't know what your purpose is. You kind of like, sometimes you're doing it and you're not really aware of what's happening.
Right. We can't really run from who we are and who we've been called to be. So I guess in looking back, I can kind of see where I was doing all of those things all along. And that's, kind of where like taking some of those wrong turns and making some of those mistakes led to like all of the content from my books. So I actually had to do that in order to get the books that I wrote. So a lot of the mistakes, some of the choices I made as far as alliances, and the people that I was around and some of the things I got caught up in all kind of made the environment for my growth. And from it, I've been able to kind of like look back and learn some things, take away some lessons. And I talk about that in my books. I wrote a 4-book series on faith and forgiveness, also how to actually focus and use basically your pain and turn it into your purpose and passion. And then I also wrote a book on emotional wellness for women. And how can I write a book on emotional wellness for women? Because I've been down in the dumps. I have had miscarriages. I had failed relationships, and I grew up on the east side of Baltimore City. So growing up on the east side of Baltimore City, you know, we had some times and we had some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful relationships and things that have gone on. But we also had some things that we've had to overcome and conquer. And with that being said, it's actually made me stronger and tougher. But I write all about it in my books, and I use my books as a way to kind of help people heal and kind of deal with their situation and then get past it, not just like, you know, surviving it, but really overcoming it and using it for your benefit.
Mm-hmm. And that's what experiences are for. That's, I mean, and when you really think about it, each and every one of us has a story.
You're right about that.
And the longer you live, the more you learn that every day isn't a beautiful day. You know, you learn that, and you take those pain, those bad times, and you find good in it.
You do. I had a coach at one point in my walk, and she said, for every year that you were born, you should be able to find something that you're grateful for. So the older you are, you should have more, more to say about how grateful you are, because you've had those experiences where, it wasn't none but the Lord that got you through it, and looking back and saying, okay, I'm thankful for this, that, and the other. So the older we get and the older I get, I see those things. I didn't always see those things like I do now as learning experiences and things like that. But now I do. And it's a good thing, because I don't have to stay in a place of depression and despair. I can use that and say, okay, this, it could have been like this. It could have, turned out, this way. But instead, this happened, and then I was able to kind of glean this from it. So it's just kind of how you see it, your perspective of your current situation, and then using that to kind of move forward.
That's an awesome statement. So many people live in their yesterdays.
Oh, my goodness.
Live in their yesterdays. And I had a recent experience being with someone, and I was just like, it just occurred to me that's what she was doing. She was living in her yesterdays. So there's no room for today, and there's definitely no room for the future.
Right.
And her, because she's living in her yesterdays, she wants people to live there with her. Right. And I can't do that. I don't do that.
Right. I remember, I'm sorry.
It's about. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear the last part of what you were saying. I apologize.
That's what your work is about.
Definitely. That is exactly what basically I call it my ministry. And it's not just for like writing books and things like that. It's also what I'm doing in my home, with my husband, my relationship with my husband, my relationship with my children. I think all of my children have been brought through, my womb into this dimension to actually learn from me. And I, in turn, learn from them. And that's like one of the things that I had to deal with. And it's a constant struggle. At times when I'm tired or when I've like had a really, really stressful day, I call it a battle in those times. But because I'm kind of conscious of it now, it's a little bit easier for me to say, okay, that thought doesn't belong there. All right, let's work on that, Christina. Let's get through it. Okay, how can we change that thought into something that's actually the truth? Because when we're dealing with those like scenarios from the past and that hurt, I was reading some research that was done. It actually creates endorphins in our brains, and it makes us feel high, high on, those old memories and those old thoughts. So when we begin to address them, we have to find a new way to get high, and it's like, we can't get high on the past. We can't get high on hurt and what he did and what I did and all this. We got to get high on what the truth is. And the truth is, we're fearfully and wonderfully made. Our steps are ordered. We have a purpose. We are divine beings. We're not just physical beings. We are a spirit. And we just have a body, in this realm and space. And that's what God has kind of shown me in these times of like dark places and what people will call the valleys of life. In those dark spaces, things grow. And, you know, you read some of my bio. I was at the Rabin Medical Center in Israel. I worked at Hopkins University of Maryland. I did research for them. I taught class for them. And I was always doing work for other people. But when God set me down and had me look at what he had placed in me already, all of the outside stuff was just added. You know, so I kind of gleaned, okay, so I did this research for them. I did this research. Let me do it for myself. And in doing it for myself, I was being grown in the dark, just like plants' roots, just like butterflies in their chrysalis and moths in their cocoon. It was in the dark that I was being honed and molded, just like those precious stones. And now that I'm out, when those thoughts come up, because we can't always control our thoughts, but we can control how long the thought stays and what, you know, stays there. So that's what I work on that every day. So I wrote about it, but I'm not expert or sage or anything like that. I'm going through it just like, you know, everyone else, but at least I'm aware of it, and I got to give myself credit for that. And I think that's what we all have to do. Give ourselves credit for that which we, you know, how far we've come and where we are now.
Absolutely. It's a process. I love it when people start talking about the way that we think, because our thoughts actually turn into things.
Yes. Yes.
Our thoughts are powerful. So if we're going to have a thought that doesn't belong there, we really do, like you said, have to be conscious of it and say,
exactly.
Okay, let me push it aside, find something to replace. Not even push it aside. Find another thought, a better thought.
You're right. You're right.
Otherwise, our thoughts can take us really down a deep. They will take us into the valley and
You're right.
a really dark place. And sometimes that's what we come across. You know, we're trying to work on our thinking, and then you come across someone else, and their thoughts are diametrically opposed to where you're trying to go, and you have to work to not join them in those thoughts.
Right.
You know?
Right.
That's one of the things that today has been one of those days where people had all kinds of stuff going on with them. And I just had to come home for a while and just get quiet, because it was other people's thinking. That's their thinking. They have absolutely every right to have it, but I choose not to join them. And that's whenever people start talking about how do you think, where are your thoughts going?
Right.
Where are you with your thinking process? Do you just let a thought come and just go on with it? Just because like you said, you get high off it.
You're right.
People really don't recognize that they're getting high in some way. They're getting some sort of satisfaction.
Right.
They need that satisfaction, recognize it, and then let it go, because it really is valueless.
Exactly. Exactly.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I've learned is you have to constantly step outside yourself. And look.
Right.
You really have to constantly do that, because because we can easily go to the left real quick.
Right.
And stay there for a minute if we don't pay attention.
You're right. My children have been the biggest. I think they have taught me more about me than I've been able to find out in my own studies and research, because they are like mirrors. They pick up on everything you don't want them to pick up on, and they will regurgitate it back to you. They will show it to you. And every time I go to discipline my children, God's telling me, that's a word for you. I was just disciplining my children before I start hopping on and off, trying to see if we were ready for the interview, if I was ready for the interview. And I was disciplining my daughter, and I was saying, well, you have to see that when someone says something to you, and I'm talking about, her friends here, they call each other friends, by the way. So everyone's a friend in here. So when someone says something to you, you have to see the purity in what your friend is trying to get across to you, because their perspective is different. They don't see everything exactly the same as you. And I'm like, that's for me, because, my husband go to say something to me, and I'm like, you know what, that is not, and his perspective is his truth.
Right.
But the way I see it is my perspective, and that's my truth. So then we got to come together and say, okay, well, what's the divine truth then? And then we got to come to some consensus on what it means and how we're going to move forward, because we can't stay separated where we're not seeing each other. And we don't necessarily have to agree on everything, because I don't agree on everything. I talk a whole lot. I got my own opinion about stuff, and you probably noticed that already, but in knowing that we have our own thoughts, we have our own minds, and the Lord did make us individuals, we still have to be able to coexist and live in harmony. So we got to identify, okay, what's that perspective? What's the perspective of that person? What's the perspective, that I have? Okay. And now, what's that middle ground? How can we still coexist and be free to be who we are, and allow the other person to be free to be who they are as well?
Yes. And that's important.
Very important.
Very important, especially in a marriage.
Especially especially when you're finding the new role for yourself. Because since we're talking about marriage is really, really good, because I always equate marriage to a lot of different things. It's not just marriage, between you and a person, but I married myself to being a teacher, outside of the home, in the school system for years. And I would work 80 hours a week. I was married to teaching. I was married to that job. I was married to several people, who, I was doing things for them, supporting. So marriage is, real funny. A lot of people don't like to use the word, but they're married even when they're dating and doing everything a married couple does. They're married too. But when you're talking about, the whole idea of being married to something, it's like that connection, and it's an alliance basically that you have with a person or a thing. And it doesn't always just have to be between you and like a spouse, but you're married to your children, and you have these different roles of what you have to do and accomplish throughout the day. So that whole perspective and idea, I'm still working on that too. So I'm still working on that too, but it's all good. I'm going to get there.
Yeah, the hats we wear.
Oh my goodness. And that's what I was getting ready to say. I'm glad you said it, because that reminded me of why I started with the marriage thing. When I was first learning my role as wife, when I first got married, and I'm still learning that role. I'm still learning, but when I was learning the new role, it was uncomfortable, because it was something that I hadn't been taught. I hadn't been taught, and my parents did what they could do based on their revelation. I love them for that. This is no bash on parents, but I hadn't been taught that, you don't to your husband, because you do that to an alpha male, he gonna buck, he gonna buck back and like, and the thing, we've never been physical or anything like that. When I say buck, I'm talking about he's not gonna let you. Any man will either walk away from you, or they will let you know, no, I am, head of the household, and it's me.
Right.
And I'm one of them. So, I'm still, like learning the role, and I'm not knowing what's going on, because I saw what I saw as a child, and I want what I want as, an adult woman, wife, and mom. So when you go, to your husband, that is like, a no-no. So learning that role, oh my goodness, it was something that was new. It was an experience that I loved, because I was being stretched, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, this hurts a little bit. Do I really want this? So it's an experience. And then learning those new roles, learning a new role as a mom, when I, was like tired, and, I'm nursing, I'm up every hour and a half because my baby want to keep eating all through the day, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is hard. I love being a mom, but okay, I'm learning all these different things. Right. So learning the roles are like so important, and we got to know it's not always, like you said, Ms. Crawford, it's not always going to be, a wonderfully good day every second of the day. You're going to have times where you got to fight through, because this is a constant battle. There are, believe it or not, life is wonderful, and, wonderful divine spirits, angelic beings and everything. But there are entities that don't want you to succeed and don't want to see the family unit, the Black family unit, stay together and stick together and be strong. There are people that don't want you as a woman to succeed and, show your power and your core values and the divine being that you are. So it's so many things that work against you, and we don't even know them all, and we have to fight through. We have to know, okay, these roles aren't easy, but they are necessary for the, betterment of our community and our families. And we got to do it. It's something that just has to be done.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So before we go any further, how do people get in contact with you?
Oh my goodness.
and your book and all that good stuff?
Okay. I would suggest just looking me up on social media or going to my website. So on social media, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on those platforms as Christina Marcia Johnson. So Christina, my middle name is Marcia, last name Johnson. And I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, but it's not being built up that much, but I am on there. My website is https://testimonypublishers.com/apply, APPLY. And you can find out all you want to know about publishing, writing, or me. And then you can also email me if you're interested and have questions or comments or concerns about something dealing with writing, or you just have a question for me about my books. It's admin, ADMIN, at Testimony Publishers with an S, LLC.online.
Okay. So talk a little bit about your publishing company.
Okay, Testimony Publishers. Testimony, I kind of played on that word a little bit because, like you said before, Ms. Crawford, everyone has a story. And a lot of times people know that. And there's so many people that want to write a book, but they don't actually know how to go about doing it. And when they find out that you got to sit down, you got to write and this and other, the first thing that come to their mind, I'm not a good writer. I didn't do well in school. I can't do it. All these things come up. So what I did, I made it extra, extra easy. I took my teaching experience, my curriculum experience, and what I did, I came up with 15 questions that help you to write at least 1,500 words in 15 minutes or less. On my website, you'll see that people have published books. They're on Amazon, they're in Barnes and Nobles, they're actually in some of the brick and mortar Barnes and Nobles because of this technique and strategy that I use to kind of help them along as I coach them. So 15 words in 15 minutes or less, that's one of the things I do. I have a Mompreneur 5-day author challenge where over the course of 5 days, I help you to write your book and just get it out. All we do is we do a lot of work. In the beginning, we start with the inner work because you got to overcome some mindset stuff because you want to write a book and you haven't done it yet. So something is going on. So let's find out what that is. Then we find out what the why is. And then after that, then we go into, okay, now what do you want to say and who you want to say it to and how do you want to say it? And then we just do it. And by the end of that 5 days, people have come out with books. I wrote my 4-book series behind me. That way I did a lot of the research and added it in. Now, mind you, in the 5 days, it's not just ready to be published at Barnes and Nobles. That's the end of like your rough draft. And then we go and we edit and do all that good stuff. But basically, you have it done. And then after the process of editing, polishing it, then it's usually ready in about 6 weeks from that time. And then we can take it to be published and start distributing it online and in bookstores. Testimony Publishers is also a place where you can go to just kind of get coached to help you start your own publishing company. There are several publishing companies that I've helped people to start. And usually what I do with them, if they want to sign a non-disclosure agreement so that, it'll be them just starting their company and then Christina will be a part of it, that's fine. And everyone that I've worked with have wanted it that way. But we have testimonials from those people. We have all those things, on the website if anyone's interested. But you can start your own publishing company and you can publish your books, other people's books. You can be a go-between. So that's what we do. I didn't want to be one of those publishing companies that held on to everything and had to keep all the profits and everything. No, I show you how to write your book, publish it, and monetize it. So you are the person that's going to be in charge of how much money is coming in. And the harder you work, the harder you push your book, market and promote it, that's the more that comes.
Okay. That sounds... Whew.
Kind of different. It's a lot, right? It's a lot.
It's beautiful,
Thank you.
I mean, and that's what we should be doing. When we get it, we need to share it with somebody else so that they get it.
Right. Exactly. I had a previous client that I worked with, and she had worked with another publishing company before me. And long story short, she didn't have as good of an experience as she wanted to have. So that's why she was looking for another publisher. But in half the time, we got almost two books done, one book done, published, working on the second book. And it was just like the book that she was still working on with the other publishing company, it hadn't even been published yet. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying all that to say, not to compare myself to another publishing company and lift myself up, but just to give you an idea that there are ways to do it. And you don't have to be subdued by someone else's idea of what you need. You can be free to make your own schedule of when you want your book to come out. You don't have to wait years and years to do it. And you can start, benefiting and profiting from what you do, now. You don't have to wait. There's other ways to do things. And I'm mentioning that because a lot of times when people talk about writing, they always think it's only one way to do it, and you got to sit down and you got to write. I even have a technique where you don't even have to write. You get it done and you don't even write a word. You don't even type it. There's so many things that you can do, and nothing needs to stop you in this day and time with all of the technology from you sharing your story. And I always tell people, if you know you're supposed to write a book and you have something that you need to share with people and it's going to help them, if you don't write it, that's a sin. That's something on you that you are going to have to deal with, because there's people waiting to hear your story, to hear how you've overcome something. I grew up east side of Baltimore, and it's people that need to know you don't have to stay in that mindset. You don't have to stay in the place and not have any options. And if people don't hear hear my story and hear me talking about it, then, what have I done? Okay, I'm selling a couple of books, but who's really being, helped? Am I benefiting anyone by holding on to my story? No. Share your story. Get it out, because even if you stop one person from suicide, or you encourage one person to keep going or start a business or do something that they never would have thought they could do had it not been for your book, then your job is pretty much done.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Oh, wow.
I totally agree with that.
Yes, you are a fireball, to say the least.
Oh my goodness. And my birthday's coming up, so I know a lot of people are into astrology and all that kind of stuff, so they're like, okay, always asking me, okay, well, you're born in March, what's your sign? I'm in Aries, okay, so okay.
But you are talking truth.
Well, I'm thankful to God for that, because it took me a long time to learn a lot of the things that I talk about in my books and I talk about in life. I'm not always right, but at least there are times when I know the Holy Spirit speaking through me. And if I'm off track or something like that, usually I can kind of get back on track and deal with that with some sort of tact. Or at least an apology. Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was wrong. And it's good to apologize.
You don't always get it right.
You're right about. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Pie can be very tasty.
You're right. And my children. Oh my children show me that, because I've actually had to go and apologize to them, because there's times when I raise my voice, or I got frustrated, or I accused them of something, and it was totally not even them. Just because paper towels are all over the floor don't mean we did it, Mama. And I'm like, okay, all right, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. This is called life.
You're right. You're so true. So true.
Oh, wow. You are just so refreshing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I truly appreciate it.
We appreciate you. And before we wrap up, again, how do people get in touch with you?
Okay. Once again, go to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm on there as @Christina Marcia Johnson. You can go to my website. It's https://testimonypublishers.com/apply, APPLY. You can also email me at admin, ADMIN, @testimonypublishersllc.online.
All right. Wow.
All right.
Blessing. We really, really appreciate you.
Yes.
And we know that our audience did, because we know that there's somebody out there listening that needed to hear this.
Awesome. I'm so thankful. My dark times and those dark places brought me to this point. If I had stayed there, and this message is for anyone that's listening, if you stay in that dark place, no one will be able to benefit from your light, because once you grow and you come out, you are going to be the brightest that you could have ever been had it not been for that dark place. So just know, wherever you are right now, that is not where you're going to stay. That's not where you're going to end up. That is not your last lot in life. There is another day, that's a brighter day coming, and it's specifically and divinely for you. But you got to get out of the dark. You can't stay there. It's on the other side of whatever that is, fear, doubt, low self-esteem, whatever it is, it's on the other side of that. And once you get there, you're going to be so glad that you just didn't call it quits while you were down and out.
On that note, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Yes.
Word on the street says there's something new at Just Minding My Business Media. You've heard our podcast, Just Minding My Business Radio, that brings news and views you can use. That airs every Thursday at 6 p.m. on iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and Spreaker. Well, now you can watch Just Minding My Business. That's right, Just Minding My Business Media now has a TV presence on Raven International TV Network, broadcast on Roku, Fire, and Apple TV. Your business, through Just Minding My Business Media, has exposure on internet radio, major social media platforms, and now TV through Just Minding My Business dynamic digital marketing platform. Don't listen to the word on the street. Hear it for yourself. Visit jmb.assistercircle.org to learn how you can take your business, your vision, to the next level. Thank you to the amazing women of A Sister Circle Empowerment Network, ASCEN LLC, and our media partners. Let Just Minding My Business Media promote your business. For information, visit us at jmb.assistercircle.org. That's jmb.assistercircle.org. Voiceovers by RCH VoiceWorks. For when you want to be heard. Call 443-620-4115.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.